There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies?
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association,
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, a special Starfleet Academy edition. We are here on this special episode to talk about the premiere episode of the latest entry in the Star Trek franchise, Starfleet Academy. My name is Blake, and with me is...
Emily.
Hey, y'all, it's Justin.
It's Kevin.
And Mike.
Yeah, we had to recruit some other old fuckers onto this one to talk about this because there's too goddamn many spoilers that we could not let our regular newbies have access to, and we have threatened all of them that they are not allowed to watch this particular series until we figure out just what kind of implications there might be for them seeing it. So, Kevin, I understand you've got a synopsis for this one.
Young cadets train to become Starfleet officers as they deal with friendships, rivalries, and romance, all while facing a mysterious threat to both the Academy and the Federation.
That's descriptive.
Was that a synopsis for the episode or the whole series?
I don't know, but it's the pilot episode.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
They get attacked by Paul Giamatti. What do you want from me?
There you go.
There we go. Some days I think IMDb has just quit trying.
Wouldn't you?
Yes. So let's go ahead and grab some first impressions. This is going to be a little bit different than our regular show. We are still going to do some first impressions and discussion. We are not going to do questions and predictions on this one. So we don't have anyone with insider knowledge or that has seen the whole show. You know, Paramount, if you want to send us the preview episodes, I mean, we aren't going to say no. We've done that before, just saying. But let's go ahead and get some first impressions, and let's start with our returning host that we brought back from Grey 17. Justin, your first impressions.
I did hate the 90210 in space. I can definitely see how it's kind of geared more towards that kind of a younger kind of fan base, but I love Paul Giamatti in it. Holly Hunter snuggling up in her captain's chair reading a good book totally tracks. Overall, it's really hard to tell how a series is going to be based off of the pilot because most pilots are absolute shit. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how it goes, and I love having Jem Hadar as the XO on the ship and in charge of all the students. Just brings me a lot of joy.
Kevin.
I really need to see more of it before I can really form a good opinion. I don't love it. I thought some of the acting was stilted, and in other parts I thought it was kind of campy in other places.
Have you not seen the original series?
Yeah, I know. But I'm really interested to see where they go with a couple of these characters. I already have a working crush going on Bella Shepherd, so that's fine. But honestly, I really want to see more of the series before I form too much of an opinion. But as of now, I don't hate it and I don't love it.
Mike?
Gosh, I kind of echo Kevin on this one. It's tough to form much of a concrete opinion on just the first pilot episode of a show because, as Justin said, the pilots tend to be pretty rough. I think that the strongest testament that I can give it is I started off trying to watch the show and actively telling myself that I can't pick every little thing apart. You know, I was immediately hung up on a little bit of the acting, particularly, I hate to say, with Holly Hunter. I was hung up a little bit on the set design, the general kind of campiness of it. But all things considered, by the time I reached the end of the episode, I didn't feel like I had been sat on my couch and forced to watch it. I did end up enjoying it to some degree, and I do have interest in where the plot or where things are going for some of the characters. And I'm going to stress some of the characters.
Yeah.
But that said, right, it's a pilot episode, and it definitely was not a total loss. I think it's probably got some potential, though I'm going to probably rip on it pretty hard coming up in the next segment about some things. So it's like a 6 out of 10. I don't know. It's okay.
Emily,
It wasn't Section 31, so we had
Oh.
that going for us.
don't talk about that one.
We just
I
pretend
did,
that never happened.
yeah, I actually didn't think it was that bad. I think some of the special effects might have been a little much, bordering on some of the issues I have with Discovery. But overall, I tried not to go in with too many expectations. It really wasn't bad. Was it the greatest pilot ever? No, but it was at least interesting. I was not sure about the whole Jem'Hadar Klingon combination, but no, she's a badass. And yeah, I was nervous how they were going to play that role, and she seems to take it on very well. I would definitely be terrified of her if I was at Starfleet Academy. And it was nice to have the doctor back
hmm
and have a new holographic character that I think I'm under the impression that he'll end up as like kind of a mentor to her, hopefully. And it'll be interesting to see where that might go. I think there's some potential there. But overall, I mean, it was fun.
So I also went into this with kind of low expectations and just to see where it went. And I was pleasantly surprised. I will admit I have actually watched the first 2 episodes, so I've also watched the next one in. And overall, I like where it started. I think it was a decent entry. I think there's pieces in this that are going to appeal both to the younger audience that they're clearly trying to go for, but I think there's enough substance to it and enough throwbacks that it will also appeal to fans of the series. And when I say fans of the series, I'm going to address the elephant in the room here because the show is also getting review bombed right now. And a lot of the reviews hitting it have nothing to do with the show itself. It's people that are mad that, oh my God, there's more women than men on the bridge, or the different just attacks they're going after, or of there's a character that they're saying is overweight, there's a character they're saying is in a wheelchair, and they're criticizing all of these pieces of it that frankly don't have a goddamn thing to do with the show itself, not with its writing, not with its casting, not with anything other than these people are just little dicked pricks who want to go out and bitch about anything they think is woke. And frankly, go fuck yourself on that one. Star Trek has always been that way, and there's a lot out there on that, but I just get sick of that review narrative that just attacks it for no other reason than it doesn't align with their straight white male purview that should be what everything is. But outside of that, oh, go ahead, Kevin.
Honestly, like, why are those people even watching the Discovery Century universe? I mean, why are you bothering? If you don't like it, then don't watch it. Why are you completely shitting? I mean, I realize that I had my problems with it just now in the last segment, but those are all legitimate concerns about quality of the show. And I know no one's saying that I did, but it's ridiculous that someone would watch the Discovery timeline, which this is obviously a part of, and shit on it for reasons that have nothing to do with the show, as you pointed out, Blake. It's ridiculous.
Well, and they've done that too. It's like they'd watch any of the franchise.
Well, and I seriously doubt a lot of these fuckers even watched it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going through just spewing hate, just to spew hate, and you don't have to watch something to complain about it on the internet. And I think that's exactly what's going on here.
I was going to say, wasn't there a story? I can no longer tell what's real and parody anymore in our current timeline, but wasn't there just a story about like some Supergirl movie review leaking from a notable right-wing media reviewer? Like his review, his scathing review leaked to the press before the movie has even released.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, he already had that prepared.
For sure.
So he clearly didn't even watch it. He's just review bombing it already. That's
exactly. And
what a fraud.
It's a lot of different things, right? It's the toxic fandom. It's the toxicity that builds in a fandom the longer a franchise lasts. And like you said, it's just baffling to me, really. Not just that they are continuing to watch the show, knowing very well what it's going to be from the jump, but it's the really bizarre rewriting of history, of blacking out the parts of Trek all the way back to the 70s that It's the same thing people do about like looking back. Oh, things were better back in the old days before the internet and the Facebook, and it's like they're doing it to shows too. They just want to pretend like there wasn't the first interracial kiss on television in TOS. So I don't know. Everybody wants to treat Trek like it's their own exclusive thing, and they just push the parts out that they don't like, and they want to keep it close to their chest and whatever. But it makes no sense.
Yeah.
At the risk of sounding like an old man saying, get off my lawn, I can still remember when Star Trek did not have a toxic fan base, and it was a much nicer place to be. And that has nothing to do with the quality of what they're putting on the screen. That has everything to do with the assholes that are part of the fandom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that I've derailed that part of the conversation, with the review, I will say I do appreciate. I think there's pieces in here that they have paid attention to. I appreciate that they're back. There's a Klingon character in this that looks more like a Klingon. The whole start of Discovery,
Jesus, thank God.
redesign of the Klingons. That is still one of my biggest.
Yeah.
That and the mushroom driver, like the two things I just cannot justify within Discovery. And I like Discovery, but those two things were just, I could never wrap my head around that. So I'm also glad to see where we've got a character that is also descends from Jim Hadar and Klingon. It looks like a Jim Hadar. You
Right.
look at that character and you see, yes, that is where that came from. And I see where they're going in that regard. There's a lot of throwbacks, a lot of callbacks in here with the Easter eggs and bits and pieces. So I appreciate that it seems like they are listening a bit more to some of what the criticisms have been. And I'm also looking at, some of the criticism on Discovery was you never got to know the crew, right? You never, I think it was third season when Pike finally showed up, or that Pike actually went around and introduced the bridge crew because everyone's like, who the hell are these people? So you get that very intentional scene with Holly Hunter when she walks onto the bridge and she goes around and by name each member of the crew. So I think they've heard some of the criticism and are actually addressing some of that.
I mean, with that particular crew, I'm not sure it's going to matter anyway after that scene. But
True. So let's go ahead and jump into general discussion. I think we're all going to have some things we're going to criticize here. I know I've got a few things on my list, but who wants to kick us off?
I'll get the window dressing out of the way. I do not care, and this goes for the later seasons of Discovery as well. I do not care for a lot of the weird design aesthetic type choices that they make in the future-most part of the Trek universe. I hate the ship designs with the detached floaty bits. It makes no sense to me. The main ship of this series, the Athena, looks like a massive eyesore, in my opinion. I just don't get it. And most of the show inside the ship, I was okay with. Like, the bridge initially put me off a little bit, but then I started to see where they were really trying to blend classic TOS era aesthetics with modern gloss. And I kind of got it. It made a little bit more sense to me at that point. The one that I can't really forgive is like the very first scene when the new characters are embarking onto the ship and it looks like they've entered the Mall of America in space. Bothered the crap out of me, and I hope we never see that angle again. But so there's that, right? And I dig the uniforms. I like the retro look on the uniforms. I don't know if anybody else has any strong opinions about it. I just don't love a lot of what they're doing to try to make this look more futuristic than it was before.
I agree with you on the floaty bits off the ships. That has never made sense to me, and I get it. It's the future. It's future technology, or the ships that the floaty bits all fly together and form a ship. I think you could make a futuristic looking ship without having to go into that nonsensical of a direction with.
They did it before, right? They went from TOS era ships that were very spindly and kind of a combination of basic geometric shapes to they gave the Enterprise D like more of we want to call it more of a blended look, more curves, more rounding, and then as the series has progressed over a long period of time, they've gradually changed the way that like the Starfleet ships look. They elongated them, they made them look sleeker. So I mean, I guess I'm just saying this to say like there were plenty of other ways that they could have reinvented how things were going. The nacelles floating beside the ship detached was certainly a choice, and it wasn't one that I like.
I like how you mentioned glossy, because I think that's what's actually bothering me about some of just how it looks visually It does. It has that weird, like, glossy sheen to it, and my vision doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's not just a show. This is in general. Walk into Best Buy and those high def TVs, and it has that weird fake glossy look. Drives me nuts.
They continue to be very influenced by the Abrams universe as far
Yes.
as the aesthetic and the look of the film, the bridge, the ship, everything is very influenced by the Abrams stuff. And I didn't hate that part of the Abrams influence right away. There were others that I did, but that wasn't one I hated. But they've taken it too far, and they've taken it to an extreme that I agree I don't care for.
Yeah, you thought Abrams had lens flare. Now look at
Yes,
this. Like, I
good
don't know how
Lord,
anybody doesn't
guys,
just
come
walk into
on.
walls constantly. Like,
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I'm blind.
Well, and I think some of that too is because, I mean, the running jokes about Next Generation too, though, was that the Enterprise D more or less looked like the Deep Space Hilton.
yeah,
And so I think
Yeah.
they've kind of
Kind of did.
overcompensated out of that for where to go and how to have these sets look futuristic without looking like the Marriott just went by on screen. And so that's definitely, I think, part of it. And even looking at other sci-fi, by no means is this franchise the only one taking that design aesthetic. I mean, you look at other sci-fi shows that are set up and looking at spaceships in the future. I mean, even some of the newer Star Wars films. I mean, Star Wars is a grittier universe, but even some of the set pieces they have there have that high gloss aesthetic in some of what they're doing. So it's by no means limited to Star Trek on that. But yeah, it's kind of a cross between Apple Store and the other thing with like the bridge set. I get retro design as a thing, but I also think they missed the opportunity to move the design forward. I think for something that's set 800 years after when Discovery would have been set, which is also around the time of Strange New Worlds. So you're looking roughly 800 years after Strange New Worlds. It looks like the design regressed, not went forward. I get it's got some of the newer pieces, but it really does. That bridge would look at home as another ship in Strange New Worlds if you change the control surfaces out a little bit.
Right.
But design-wise, color scheme-wise, it's right out of that playbook.
And that bridge is humongous. I just can't imagine that being functional when it's that large.
I was
It's like
going to say,
you're going to be shouting to your officers to try and get your orders made unless you're going to put yourself on a microphone. It's
Well,
crazy.
I was actually reading an article on that because they were talking about that, the size of the set, and I can't remember where it was, but it was like a studio set design type article because they were also talking about a similar thing with you look at current newscasts and sets for news stations since things have gone to HD widescreen televisions instead of the 4:3 old screen format that you've got so much more space on the screen, you're either having to do these really tight close-ups on each character to fill the space, or you're having to design the spaces out wider and bigger to fill the screen. So part of it is just the shifts in television format and presentation.
I can see that. I can see there being a practical element to it for the filming crews and for framing shots and stuff. But I think there's a little bit of a carryover again from, I'll say, maybe the Abrams verse, because I think back to that atrocious engine room scene in the first Abrams movie where it's like a Super Mario level full of weird tubes running every which way in an empty factory. You know,
it really needed the Mario music when they dropped out of the tube.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, they took that and then they've kind of, now you flash forward to these like really huge cavernous type spaces. And I felt like, you know, again, the terrible Mall of America shot in this was like the cadets walking in and looking up and they could see like what 15 floors straight to the ceiling of like, is the center of the saucer just a big hollow balloon? Like, it was real weird.
At least the atrium in this was functional, unlike Doctor Who TARDIS style, bigger on the inside than the outside Discovery turbo shafts.
I mean, I guess,
Jesus.
yeah. Well, I guess the thing, right, is like Trek versus Star Wars. Star Wars is a very lived-in universe. Things feel very real in that sense. And Trek has always kind of distinguished itself by being like, look, you just need to go with it. Like, all of the screens are flat magic push buttons that really look like nothing. Like, it's believable by not being believable. Is kind of like, to me, the Trek motto on that philosophy. But then you get to this where I feel like it's pushing the envelope so far that it just, now it's really taking me out of the shot because I'm like, what am I even looking at? Like,
I don't really have a problem at all with the set design, to be honest with you. Like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, this whole damn thing is designed to be a school. So,
it's
like,
true.
that's its basic functionality, is to be like a place of education. So, like, having the big, like, atrium shot and all that stuff, to me, actually made a little bit of sense. And I think part of what they're trying to do with all of these wide shots is just to establish just how big the damn thing is. This to me looks like it's a big ass ship. Like, so I think they're just trying to establish just the general size compared to everything around it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you can think of it like this is a building flying through space, not a purpose-built spaceship.
Yeah, it's a college campus,
It's a
basically.
flying lecture hall.
And some of those other callbacks, there is that commemoration wall that has so many of the characters mentioned on it. So, I mean, they do have that. They refer to it as the Sato Atrium. So, for those that always had a thing for Hoshi Sato, there you go. I knew Kevin would. So, Kevin, she has an atrium named after her now.
Excellent.
I'm sure you're disappointed that it's a tree in the middle and not a giant statue of Hoshi Sato.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they should have a statue to Empress Sato because that was
Wrong universe.
I know. But
Maybe we'll get to that point eventually. But I went back through and I kind of scrolled through it a couple times just to kind of see like how far some of these characters progressed. Of course, we know. I think it's been established more than once that Crusher becomes an admiral, but then Harry Kim, poor Tom Paris, really didn't go very far in his career. But just to see kind of nitpick out the names and just kind of see what ranks were attached to them at the end.
Mhm.
You know, I was kind of surprised Riker didn't get a admiralcy before he was done, but that was kind of the most fun I had with that part.
yeah, I saw Ensign Sito Jax's name on there. That was the first name I saw. That was a very cool callback.
Mhm.
And it's good to see the Doctor. I really have always liked Robert Picardo, even when I didn't like the character on Stargate at times. I really have always liked him. It's good to see him back. And yeah,
I love the scene though when and I'll get to it in a minute. I hated one of the cadets, but in the scene when he's bringing the cadets through and goes tricort, medical tricort.
that was a nice
I love
callback.
that scene. Right back to Voyager.
Yeah. I'm sure I heard Garrett Wang's voice at one point. I'm positive I did. I'm going to have to go back. I couldn't stop it because I was running out of time, but I'm sure I heard his voice. Positive.
Definitely heard Stephen Colbert's voice.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was in the credits for sure. I'm going to have to dig down and see if I find Garrett.
He was the one making all the like school announcements.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
the digital dean of
Yeah.
students.
Yep.
I love seeing Picardo back and just as snarky and bitchy as ever. Absolutely freaking loved it. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Besides the wall of names, and obviously some of the races that you saw, well, and we could talk about those too. I was just going to ask the class, like, what other meaningful Trek tidbits did we pick out of this episode?
There was the Chironian. Let that be your last battlefield. The Chironians. There was one of those in the gathering of cadets, which I know people are bitching about continuity in fandom because allegedly the two sides, but they were a spacefaring race that could live to 50,000 plus years old. It's entirely plausible there were ones off planet. So let's skip that part.
Definitely, we talked about the Jem'Hadar.
Well, and they even said in there when Holly Hunter was addressing the whole ship, they even said some of you are the first of your species and some of you are the last of your species.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
So it makes perfect sense to me that, going through some of them, I mean, the one that we saw may very well be the last one for all we know.
There was also an Orion Twink standing there. We'll just throw that out there.
There were a couple of Orions.
Yeah.
There was a Binar, I think that's what they were called.
Right, Binar.
What they call what the half blacks, half whites, or whatever that they call them in the TOS.
Yeah.
Chironian.
That's right. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I saw there was some scuttlebutt about the Jem'Hadar character. As much as I loved that, I guess in DS9 we're only in season 2, so I can't really say a whole lot here. But that they never, I guess in DS9 they never show a female Jem'Hadar.
Nope.
And indicate somewhere in the series that they are a genetically created race, so we don't even know that they have females or
but allow me to take over the lecture hall for a minute and
I don't care.
Crichton and the franchise Jurassic Park. Nature will find a way, god damn it.
Or somebody will.
Also,
Yeah.
this character's part Klingon, is she not?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So that's where I think the gender could come into play.
And
That's fair
I could
enough.
see a Klingon woman going after Jem'Hadar.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh,
I mean
yeah.
that,
my initial reaction when I read about that's what she was, I was
Mhm.
like, oh, really? And then I thought about it, and I'm
Yep.
like, actually, this kind of makes sense.
I had a similar reaction. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. I'm like, but if they were gonna put two together, those
Right.
are the two.
I just want to know how violent the lovemaking was.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, they
quite.
broke
I'm
a
sure.
starship.
Considering
Look,
how
a
much
planet
blood
was
there is
destroyed,
when
okay?
the Klingons
Oh,
meet, I
man.
don't even
Right.
want to know.
How much there was Pepto-Bismol and white splattered all over the place. It's great.
Ew.
Now, they were only Pepto-Bismol in Star Trek 6.
Yeah.
Quark's
all
hollow
those-
suite was officially obliterated.
Oh
All
yeah,
those redundant organs really came into play.
yeah, it did. Yeah,
You
they
know-
I
did.
did like Bajor being mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you were on Bajor, so I liked that. You had the Badlands.
I don't know. I'm not sold on the acting of the Jem'Hadar character. It seemed a little much for me, but
Yeah, they played her a bit too far into the comedy relief role
Yeah.
sometimes.
yeah. But again, I don't want to form a solidified opinion at this point because, as we've said, some of the pilots are pretty good and some of them are
Mhm.
pretty rough. So I
Yeah.
don't think this was rough. I certainly wouldn't
Mhm.
Oh,
like. I'd watch this over a counter at Farpoint any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
that's a good discussion point. I mean, let's just put it out there. I don't know that I even know enough different Trek shows that I am personally intimately familiar with, but I'll just say, like, for me, this is definitely far from the worst pilot episode.
Oh yeah,
of
for sure.
Oh,
Trek
agree.
shows.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, even with the acting, like the guy that's playing Caleb Mir, this is his first real acting role.
See, I
Yeah.
thought his acting was good.
You know, I know, and I think he
Yeah.
did fantastic. I especially love just for that cocky arrogance. I mean, he carries that
Oh,
and just
yeah.
pulls it off.
I had to
Especially
look
that
up.
scene where he's going up against the other guy, and it's "What are you?" as attack dog. He just looks at him and goes, "Bow wow." It's like, I mean,
I
he's
had
just
to-
got that arrogance down.
our friends in Australia are going to be creating the Bow Wow podcast next, I have a
Yeah.
feeling.
I'm gonna have to send that to Ryan. We've got your next show, buddy.
No, I had to look up how tall he is because when they were showing him talking to
Dude.
Holly Hunter, I was
Is
just
he
like,
that
Yeah.
short?
I was like,
Or-
is
or
he like 7 feet tall? Is she like elf
She's-
size?
She's like a Holly Pocket.
Yeah. I had that same thought.
His character kind of reminds me of the Ed Spieler's Jack Crusher character with
A little
the
bit, yeah.
arrogance.
Yeah.
And I grew up away from Starfleet, and I'm better than this, and I don't really want it, but okay, I'll do it.
That's one of the plot lines where I'm like, I hope they don't lean too hard into the whole, like, will he stay or won't he stay kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Mhm.
a character with a backstory who's got a side quest, right, to find his mom. I think that's enough. I don't want him to be the constant, like, that playing that tried and true kind of tired trope of like, oh, he's gonna drop out of school any day now, but then he won't. Like, we don't need to see that.
Or what's he going to do to get himself expelled this week?
Right.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Exactly. We don't.
The Tom Paris kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
Ferris Bueller in space.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they've talked about doing a Starfleet Academy show for like 2 decades or more.
Oh, it's been longer than that. I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah,
had this
they-
idea even
around the
going back.
Voyager debuted in what was that, like 95? I remember them
This
talking
even went
about-
back into like the original film franchise when they
Really?
were starting to have some issues around. I think it was more around like 5 and 6
Huh.
timeline where they were faced with, we want to make these movies, but we don't want to spend a lot of money. There were talks even back around the late 80s of doing a either movie or show that went back to
Huh. I didn't
the
realize it was
origins
that
of
far.
the original crew at the Academy. I mean, so that's, I will say, for as many flaws as there were with Star Trek 2009, with J.J. Abrams, the idea of going back to an Academy set Kirk Spock
Yeah.
era is nowhere near a new idea. That has been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, I love Paul Giamatti in this.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved him. He's got he can pull that off.
It's honestly, there's very few things that I watch that I'm like, yeah, I didn't like him in this. So I think, I don't know if I'd be shocked if he were like the everyday villain, but I kind of hope to see him kind of pop up at least a few more times during this season.
Sure.
Honestly, watching him in this, so I loved the show Billions, by the way, and watching the way Noose Braca would just kind of needle Holly Hunter and make the comments when he was being hauled into the courtroom. I
Hmm.
don't know why it made me think of his character from Billions, the way he would make the kind of snarky remarks up against Bobby Axelrod of that. So I kind of saw some similarities here with just the way the character's attitude was and wanted to throw those little needling remarks in there.
His bridge scene was fantastic too.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
when he was walking around the bridge and then he stops at that one girl and just like almost like he's going through this whole diatribe and then he stops just long enough to hit on some random crew member on the bridge and then just it's I can't I mean there's nothing bad to say about him at all.
I was gonna say I agree. Just to rewind for a split second, I was gonna echo the fact that like for the most part, I felt like the acting in this was really good. And one of you already pointed it out. The main kid Caleb like really doesn't have very many acting credits, and most of the cadets I looked through, they have a very short resume. And I felt like they, for the most part, were some of the strongest actors in the show. And yeah, Paul Giamatti. My biggest complaint is that there wasn't more of him in the show, and I'll say that both from a standpoint of he's fun to watch. He brings that Paul Giamatti energy to those roles where he's kind of like this chaotic, as he called himself in an article, an outer space dickhead. That's just fun. But I guess from a story perspective, I was a little, I don't know, maybe it's preemptive to say this, but I was a little sad because I thought they were going to lean harder based on the opening scene into the idea of the Federation has some stuff to atone for. Like they lost their way and they made some bad calls, and now they created Paul Giamatti's character as a villain, and we're gonna see that play out. And I felt like they started to establish it in that early scene and then completely dropped it. When he came back later as the villain in the end of the show, I felt like they basically ditched most of that other kind of deeper meaning villainy.
And I will say,
Uh,
having watched both episodes, though, Mike, I think if you watch the next one,
Okay,
it might address some of that for you.
I think they're going to
I
go
hope
back
so.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope so.
well, and they even touched on it a little bit with Giamatti and Caleb's interactions too.
Mhm.
They kind of even went back to that, like even when he was talking to Holly Hunter, like you ruined this kid's life and then you put him into a freaking uniform. Like I think it's going to be a constant theme. I don't think they want to just dive super deeply into it because they had so much to establish with
That's
this
fair.
episode originally. But I think it's probably going to be the underlying theme of most of the season.
Plus, it's
That's
kind of
fair.
hard for them to be, oh, well, we got stuff to atone for when he's literally trying to murder them. So,
Yeah.
That's fair. And yeah, I guess take it less as a criticism and more of a I hope they go back to this because it's a
Sure.
really interesting, juicy thing to dig into, I think. The only bit of acting, you mentioned the bridge scene, and I thought he was great on the bridge scene. That was the one time I don't love Holly Hunter's character overall, but that was the one time where I felt like when she was talking to him, her acting kind of broke. Like she was kind of trying to like spin a yarn, and it just didn't feel believable to me at all.
I wonder so Holly Hunter's character in this is Lanthanite, the same as Pelia from Strange New Worlds,
Mhm.
and I don't like Pelia in Strange New Worlds because I think the character is just too weird, and I almost wonder if that's in the writing as the species with that kind of just quirky oddball behavior.
I think so.
Because
Yeah, I
Holly
chalk
Hunter,
that up to
good
Carol
actress.
Kane.
But Carol Kane, there's Carol Kane, and then there's
Hell yeah.
Pelia,
Carol Kane,
and
yeah.
even like the weird accent that she's doing as Pelia is just like I don't like Pelia, and so I wonder if that's just the way it is.
Well, but also think about it this way: is Holly Hunter is basically Holly Hunter in everything she's in. Yes, she is a great actress, and I'm not detracting from her in any way, but there's a spark of her individual personality that's in everything she does. That does come off a little bit sarcastic, a little bit quirky at times. So I think part of it's the writing, where if you live this long, you're going to be batshit crazy too. And then just Holly just being Holly is, I think, where a lot of that comes from.
I could see the over the top just kind of being comfortable wherever you are, not worrying about what other people think. So her weird posture in her chair and that kind of thing kind of it was off-putting, but I was like, yeah, okay, sure, But no, I said that one scene just kind of stuck out like a sore thumb to me, and it felt just like those two characters were walking side by side around the bridge, and she's like trying to convince him of her plan to stall, and it just felt like she didn't believe what she was saying either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to come off like I know a lot of what I feel like I'm saying is probably coming off as negative, and I want to reiterate, like I did enjoy the out, so it's not bad. I'm trying to not be too nitpicky.
Well, the one that got me, like I mentioned earlier in the scene with, is the Starfleet. These are supposed to be like the best of the best. With the cadets, and I know this got mentioned on Trek Culture, and I had the same thoughts. So I promise I'm not plagiarizing or stealing here. But when she goes up there, it's like, I think I swallowed my comm badge again. And then you see her again later, just roaming the halls, red alert. I don't know. I just thought I had a hard time seeing that as a Starfleet Academy cadet.
Could it be the species?
Maybe. Also, the hallway altercation between Caleb and Jaden and the other guy whose name Remy.
Durham.
It's that 901210 CW drama injected into the show. I get it, but I was like, oh my god, it went from like Zero to High School Musical in like the snap of a finger. Like these again are supposed to be like the best of the best of the generation coming out, and like I could see beefs forming between two characters over time, but like that immediate alpha male BS in the hallway was ridiculous, I thought.
No, that's exactly what I expected.
Eh.
It's 90210 in space, and you're going to have these rivalries. We already within it have the whole cliche of the Breakfast Club going on. We've got the Brooder and
True.
Caleb. We've got the one who's unsure of herself and trying to fit in the hologram one. So you have every little segment of teenage society represented in like this little group. So that's exactly what I expect.
I think some of the conflict too, keeping in mind in universe, this is the first Academy class in over 100 years. A lot of these species and races have not interacted or have done so. And this gets back into a little bit of you'd have to have seen Discovery to know this, but again, not prerequisite to this series. I mean, there are tensions amongst the former Federation worlds and a lot of distrust based on what happened post what they call the burn, which was when a character that was all up in their feels amplified their feelings and somehow blew up all the lithium across the galaxy. I'm still not entirely certain how the hell that worked, but whatever, we're moving on. That series, part of the series sucked.
It still felt very cheesy to me. You could put all the explanations into it you want. It still felt very cheesy. And I'll say, it is exactly what I expected going into it, which is kind of why I wasn't that excited to watch the show.
The unsure characters definitely remind me of the Sylvia Tilly, Mary Wiseman character from, and I think that was intentional because you are going to see her at some point. I remember reading that she was going to guest star or be a recurring character. So I'm quite sure that was intentional, and it's meant to show diversity, which is fine with me because I almost identify with that kind of character more than the people that are sure of themselves. But, you know, it definitely is something that they're going to have to not overdo because otherwise it's going to get very annoying.
Yes, agreed. Speaking of the deep cuts, the character Sam being the holographic character side by side with Picardo made perfect sense. It's funny because we just watched season 2 of DS9 where we not too long ago watched the episode Shadow Play, which was a colony of holograms. And I thought that was kind of a fun, like they didn't, I don't know, I'm not sure if they directly referenced that colony or not. I didn't remember enough about the names and whatnot, so anybody can chime in there. But I just kind of wanted to say, like, well, that initially seemed like a ridiculous concept until it wasn't, because I realized that they did it before in a very good episode of DS9.
I will say and part of the thing with the Doctor, there's a couple continuity things in this that normally I am not the continuity guy, as I've said. But there's a couple things just within the show that it's like, did the writers not talk to the special effects team? One of which being around the Doctor, because they clearly established he's still a hologram, right? They haven't put him into one of the golem bodies like they've done now. He's still a hologram. But you get to this point where they're like, the emergency holosystems are down, medical help is short, staff, so he's still there. Now, mobile emitter, granted, but they also point out the transporters are down, but he's still sending himself to different places. So there's some questions there, but the one that really got me, though, is they're getting attacked by Paul Giamatti's ship from behind, and they put the power to the forward shields.
Oops.
It's like, whoopsie, he's back there, guys.
Trainee mistakes.
This was not the cadets. This was the Starfleet crew.
That's true. Well, and for that matter, I mean, maybe my biggest complaint in that sort of department was the fact that, like, these cadets, some of whom had never been on a spaceship before, like, presumably were the ones who completely stepped forward and saved the day while the rest of the bridge crew did what exactly?
Well, it's hard.
Besides the doctor.
Perhaps it's because it's hard to figure out which side of the ship is the front and which is the back design. So,
and I will say the cadets saving the day were not nearly as annoying as season 1 Wesley Crusher.
Well,
it's hard to be that annoying.
Yeah.
Or Michael Burnham superhero.
Yeah.
Or that.
Well, but also that's exactly one thing that I'm going to expect too. You can't have a show called Starfleet Academy and have the bridge crew come to the rescue every time. It's going to be what little things can the little students come up with, Harry Potter style, to kind of save the floating Hogwarts in space. So, not to give credit to a transphobic snotbag, but
I expected maybe the Academy students would help the bridge crew solve their problems, not tell the bridge crew to go sit in the corner while they just handle it.
Right.
Now, one thing I will say is, you mentioning Burnham, I am very glad, because when this show first got announced, the ending of Discovery had Burnham and fuck off, Kevin. The ending of Discovery had Book and Burnham together, and they'd had a family and had a son. So when this show first got announced, and they hadn't really given character names, but they were talking about the casting, and they mentioned Sandra Rosta being cast. I'm looking at going, don't tell me this is going to be Burnham 2.0 and you're going to have the adventures of Michael Burnham Jr. running through Starfleet Academy, which is kind of where my fear was when they started talking castings. I'm like, the way they ended and the way this is going to be especially when they're announcing Sylvia Tilly was going to be part of this with Mary Weissman, Tig Notaro's coming in. I'm like, you guys are basically setting this up. This is going to follow the further adventures of a Burnham family member. So I'm glad they didn't go that direction and that we've relatively got a new cast of cadets in this without connection to immediate prior characters anyway.
Yeah, all they did was say, well, Discovery's a refit, so they can't come to the rescue. It's like, good, because I would rather them do their own show here.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I don't like Discovery and I haven't seen the last 2 seasons of it, but I just want something that's, I mean, it's like the Star Wars thing where everything goes back to the Skywalkers. It's like, please, for the love of God, there's a large galaxy, use it.
Yeah. Now, I will say, arguably, I think Discovery got better once they went into the future.
Oh, for sure.
Which is probably where it should have been set from the get-go and not dealt with the other stuff.
I liked the second season and I think the third season a lot. I didn't like the first season. I really did not like the first season.
First season had some challenges.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess being somebody who, like Kevin, has not seen the last 2 seasons of Discovery at all, I'm familiar with the burn. Like, I kind of read up on it a little bit. How did they get warp back?
So there was still dilithium left throughout the galaxy. It was just very limited supply, and it was a hard time getting ships to get to it since everything kind of went kaboom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vast majority of warp-capable ships exploded. Handful survived, and some dilithium also survived.
So it's just basically okay, so they didn't come up with the alternative for dilithium or anything like that.
Nope. No.
Okay.
And basically, once Discovery got there and had the spore drive, they were able to use the magic mushroom drive and go on their little mushroom trips around the galaxy and help kind of restore order. They got dilithium back up and going. And
okay, that's the one question I had. That was kind of the gap in my knowledge, was what happened between Discovery, because all of a sudden, like, the ship's jumping in and out of warp, and I'm like, how did they even get warp back? So
they went on a magical mushroom trip and they found more pretty crystals.
See, and that was kind of my whole hope, is that, like, the entire Discovery series was just one massive mushroom trip. And then it turns out that it didn't happen. Because if you were high on mushrooms, little spinning things would make you freak out too.
Yeah. Well, do we have anything else we want to talk about with Starfleet Academy?
Sorry, Nicole couldn't watch it because she's really big into wrestling, and Becky Lynch is like the helmsman of the ship, or the tactical officer, I think, maybe.
Okay, between Becky Lynch and 90210 style CW angst.
Oh, Kat's gonna love it.
This show is right up Nicole's alley.
What was the I laughed at the characters, not just the hairstyle, but Lieutenant Ya.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It was fine. I just got a chuckle out of it.
So I just got a chuckle of how all the major characters still have Gen Z nicknames just with hyphens put in.
Jaden.
Yeah, I'm Jaden.
He has potential. We didn't talk about him much, and I'll say like he has potential to be an interesting character, a sensitive Klingon. Although it's been done because we've met Alexander before. I felt like maybe of the acting, some of his acting was a little bit rough. He sounded a
Rough.
bit like a caveman speaking
Yes,
most of the
for
time.
sure.
But I'm still interested to see where they
Go
go with that
listen to him
character.
do an interview though in his normal voice, and you will
Is it
understand
is
why
it not that different?
No, it's radically different. Like he's
Oh,
lowering his voice quite a bit.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah, go listen to him do an interview. Because
because on the
I heard
same
one, I
note,
went, wait, huh? Well, you're just a goddamn minute.
yeah, because on the same note, Hallie Hunter has a very distinctive voice, and obviously she didn't really mask it in any way too dramatically for this role, and it was a little bit of a thing that took some getting used to. But
I'm expecting her at some point to throw out the line, piss in a jar and call it peach tea in her southern voice at some point.
hmm
So
But the actor for Jaden has actually been. They were at one point saying they thought they digitized the voice. They didn't. He's actually doing it.
it sounded really weird at times and unnatural or forced. But again, like I'm drawn into the character. I think it's fine. We'll see.
I think it's going to have a very interesting premise having a Klingon science officer.
Yep.
That likes to birdwatch.
That likes to birdwatch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Bird watching
you all know
Klingon.
I love a Klingon though. So I was like, oh my God, he's this awkward little Klingon. He's adorable.
I'm actually really glad for that one because we will probably continue to discuss this in DS9 with some of the newbies who are new to Trek and trying to get their head around Klingons. We already have had discussions about like who the Klingons are and what they are and like the kind of weird perception of like how did these guys manage space travel? Because you literally never see them do anything but drink, grunt, and fight each other. And so I'm actually happy that they're breaking out of the mold a little bit to show us something new with the Klingons.
Do you mean the angry space Vikings can become
Yes.
a bit civilized over time?
Exactly. And frankly,
To me, it makes sense because even if you want to compare the Klingons that we know and love to be the angry space Vikings, once they started kind of calming down as a society, that led to the rise of English culture and stuff like that. So to me, having him a little bit more pacified and him just trying to figure out a place in a different universe, I don't hate the character at all, and I look forward to seeing more of him.
and as I said, we'll undoubtedly at some point there will be an episode that digs into his backstory a little bit more and how he's fallen out with his people's beliefs or whatever. But
And you could tell they already brought it up a couple times during here
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
were some of the other cadets were just kind of taken aback that he wasn't just ready just to smash shit.
right.
So you can tell he's definitely still, however much the Klingons may have changed in 800 years, he's still very much not a typical Klingon. And I think they have a lot of very cool ways they could go with this storytelling.
Yep. And I'm also pretty interested in seeing where they go if they dig into the backstory of Cadet Master Valk a little bit. I would really like to know a little bit more about how the Dominion came to become friendly enough
Serve in Starfleet.
to serve in Starfleet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you all know I love the Dominion, so as soon as I saw her on screen, I squealed with joy. Like, I can't wait to see where her character goes.
Yep. Same.
Well, the nice thing is, I mean, this show has already been renewed for season 2, so we are guaranteed at least 2 seasons. I mean, and that was even before it was released. They announced months ago that this had already been renewed for season 2.
So they're investing in it then. That's good.
And aside from like we mentioned first, aside from some of the review bumps, if you go to the actual critic reviews, the critic reviews on this are actually pretty good. It's got a lot of really good commentary and reviews coming out on the critic side. It's some of that more toxic side of the fan base that's out there taking issues with it and having problems, which honestly, there's also a component of any media company right now is taking bullets from everywhere. I mean, you've got Netflix is getting attacked for being woke. You've got Paramount Discovery who's getting hit for all sorts of stupid shit they're doing, particularly in the news division.
I was going to say, we're making stupid decisions because they are chasing the dollar more than their principles.
Or got taken over by fascists, but whatever.
Or that. Or, laid off Stephen Colbert, but found $108 billion to try to go buy Warner Brothers Discovery.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, just we could all do what I do sometimes that I've said in public is just I have a simple thing, just saying "shut up, Trump lover," and walk away.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a weird time. It's a weird time to be making television, especially a weird time to be trying to make this sort of television where Trek famously always has a social commentary and a point to make.
Right.
And
Well, and it's pretty clear that most of us could probably just ignore these view bombers, but so then they've made themselves unignorable by the sheer level of stupidity that they're.
Well, and then it gets amplified by the king of the stupids when people like Stephen Miller go out and talk about how they need to bring William Shatner back to save Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, because, he's any savior of anything. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
I saw that Stephen Miller tweeted that he hated it, and that was the tipping point when I reached out to Blake and said, "Man, we should record a podcast about this."
I guarantee you he didn't
Genesis
watch
of that was.
I guarantee you he didn't watch it. Guaranteed. There's no way.
No, I agree, Kevin. No, there's no way anybody in that administration, one, gives a shit about Star Trek, and two, actually took time to watch it.
No, Miller might have, because he heard there were aliens in it and he was going to deport the damn thing.
Oh Lord!
Our own little
nuts.
Nazi.
It's funny.
So
it's
nice.
both funny and sad because it's true.
Oh, stupid little. Why do you have to be 5 foot and a complete evil bastard?
Hashtag Napoleon complex. Anyone?
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I think that wraps us up on a discussion of our first episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I think what we're going to try to do here is, obviously episode 2 is out. We only decided to talk about the first one since we literally decided to do this less than 24 hours before we actually recorded this. Hell, we're probably less than 12 hours before we actually decided to do this, that we went from, hey, this is an idea, to let's do this. So not a lot of pre-thought went into this. So what we're probably going to do, or ever, if you've ever watched any of our other fine, high-quality productions, we're probably going to watch episode 2. We'll be back, whatever configuration of the 5 of us are available to record. We will hop on, share our thoughts on the episode, and we will post these as special bonus episodes on our Especially the Lies podcast, in addition to our watch through of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which we are currently, as of recording of this, we have 2 episodes left in season 2 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine to record, and we will have those released, and we'll sprinkle in these as bonus content as we go. So make sure to
unless we get more clicks on this, then ditch the other losers. We'll just.
So make sure to like, follow, subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. We do also have all of our social medias in the show notes below. We allegedly have a Twitter platform, but at this point, given the problematic nature of Twitter and AI bots that are undressing people and all sorts of other things, I think we're pretty much going to say we're done with that particular platform.
Yeah.
And leave that one be.
They can undress me if they want to.
And on that disturbing thought,
yeah.
If that is something you want to see, well, just go find our Patreon and we'll talk there for the right amount of money.
I was going to say, without Twitter, if you want to contact us, Blake said he'd put a cork board outside of his house and you can come leave a note.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, are we going back to feet pics for Gray 17 again? Okay.
We could have made a fortune.
I just trimmed my nails. It's good.
So make sure to follow us back here for our next release of this special related to Star Trek Starfleet Academy and for our Star Trek Deep Space Nine podcast. I am Blake, and with me has been
Emily,
Justin,
Kevin,
and Mike.